All right, so tonight's presentation is going to be on Castnet 101 with myself, Captain Anthony Grassi, and also joining us via video that we pre-recorded, Captain Frank Crescitelli. We're the Fin Chaser team. It's three of us that are captains, two full-time. So myself, I've been fishing for over 40 years as a charter captain for 20. I've been in a lot of different tournaments, members of organizations for conservation that take children fishing, wounded warrior programs, and also privileged to be part of many different pro staffs, which includes Navionics, who is hosting this webinar tonight, Ray Marine and a couple other different companies that I'm fortunate to be sponsored by. Then you have Captain Frank Wagenhofer. Same thing. He's been a charter captain for a while. He's a full-time charter captain. Our business, Fin Chaser Charters. We have charter boats in New York, Staten Island, New York, Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey, Point Pleasant, New Jersey, and Long Beach Island. And Captain Frank Crescitelli, who is also probably one of the most successful guides in the New Jersey area. He started a TV show called The Fin Chasers, which was on the Destination America, but this year we're on Pursuit and the Discovery Channel. It's our third year, should be airing this fall. Our first two seasons are on Amazon Prime, and in those shows, you'll see some different techniques of throwing the net. Captain Frank has pretty much set the standard for throwing the net the easiest way, and I'm going to show you that video to give you an idea on how to make throwing a cast net easy for you. Also, I'll be talking about different types of cast nets that are on the market. So one of the first things we're going to talk about are the benefits of using a cast net versus buying bait. And again, the simplest way to throw one that I know of. If you have any questions, you could just click on the chat button, and I'll try to answer questions that go along. If not, I could answer some questions towards the end. So, again, we'll be together in the next 45 minutes. Again, I'll try to answer questions as we go. I've done these presentations at some major boat shows and fishing shows. So if you are in the New Jersey metro area at any of the local boat shows, as well as trade shows, fishing trade shows, I do Castnet presentations there. This weekend, I'll be at the New Jersey Boating and Fishing Expo in Edison, New Jersey. And on Saturday, I'll be doing Castnet demos in the afternoon. On Friday, I'll be doing a presentation on mojo fishing. So if you're in the area and you come to the show, I'll have two presentations going on. Make sure you stop by, as well as the Atlantic City Boat Show in 2 weeks. So again, if you have any questions, I will be able to answer them. And also, I'll answer them towards the end, but I'll periodically check back and forth. Successful fishermen use live bait, and the fresher the bait, the better off it is. In our area, bait costs are at a premium. I was just down in Isla Morada this weekend, and I got a small package of spearing. Down there, I guess they call it silver sides. And I paid $7 at Bud and Mary's for a very small bag of these right here, which we call spearing or silver sides. Also, peanut bunker, 8-ounce bag, a dozen pieces, $6, $7. And bunker, if they're fresh, they could be as much as $3 to $4 per fish. If they're live, people could charge even more than that. So it behooves you to learn how to throw a cast net so that A, you could save money, and B, you would have the best bait that there is. Fresh bait, especially fishing for stripers or bluefish or tuna in our area, shark fishing, having the fresh bunker makes a difference. It's much better than frozen. So cast nets. Well, a premium cast net are as high as $300. I've seen them as high as $400. Is there a difference of buying a $300 net and a $60 net? Absolutely. The more expensive quality nets are paneled nets. As you can see in this picture here in the bottom left, this net is made up of triangular shaped patterns of netting. And what happens is that it creates this pyramid look. Whereas a one-piece net, or one panel, on the top is all bunched up. So it's easier to throw the better, more quality net that has multiple panels. Most of the custom nets that are made in the Northeast, including a net that I sell, made by Guide Secret Tackle. It's a handmade, hand-stitched 6-panel net. And that's why these nets are $250 to $300. And it's funny, but I tell people it's much easier to throw the better nets than it is to throw these one panel, cheaper nets, $60, $70, even $80. The Betts makes one, or some of the other companies that make these, nets that are made overseas. All right, let me just double check to make sure. Okay, you have a glare on your glasses. Oh, it's the lighting. I'll try to take the glasses off. All right, this is my first one this year. I've got 3 or 4 more to go. So generally, I'll get dialed in after a while. Back to the main screen. Okay, so those are the differences between a cheap net and a more expensive net. And again, the better quality nets are much easier to cast. One of the reasons that I tried to educate people about using cast nets is that it's much better than snagging. A lot of times I'll come into the area where there's schools of bunker, and I see a lot of people snagging bunker and putting them in their live well, with a couple of negative things about it. One thing is it takes a long time to do, all right? Snagging a dozen or 2 dozen bunker could take as long as an hour. It also makes a mess because they're constantly bleeding, and also they don't live as long in your live well, so they don't stay as fresh. Also, I could hear in these fleets the treble hook, weighted treble hook with 4 ounces of lead on them, smashing against the sides of the boat. And also, too, I've seen them come flying up, when I've had charters years ago, and watching them come flying up, sticking into the isinglass, hitting the sides of the boat. It's just a mess. And also, too, now with conservation, I don't like to do snag and drop because it's very difficult to release undersized fish when they take a treble hook instead of using a circle hook. So that's one of the reasons why I really push learning how to use a cast net, is because 1, it's more effective and faster. 2, the bait is much better quality. And 3, you save the fish and you're more conservation minded. So let's talk a little bit about a cast net and the different parts of it. Okay, so here you have your drawstring or lead line. Okay, lengths of them are important because sometimes if you're throwing cast nets in deeper water, anything say over like 20 feet deep, you're going to need more than 40 feet of your line, your lead line. The deeper, you could always attach loop to loop an additional line to them when we are throwing on bunker schools that are on the ocean side. All right, and this lead line is then attached to a heavy duty, on this end you could create a loop. Some nets have Velcro. Whatever you do, just make sure that it's easy to get off quickly. just in case your net gets caught in the gear or on some debris and it doesn't pull you in. So whatever you're doing with your loop, make sure that it could come off very easily. And unfortunately, sometimes it comes off completely, but that's why these lines float. So if they do come off you, you have a chance to retrieve your line and then retrieve your net. But it's definitely a safety measure. Here you got a heavy duty 4, 5, 600 pound barrel swivel attached to mono, generally between 100 to 150 pounds onto this swivel. These are your braille lines. These are the lines that go through your neck and then to the base of the net and where your sinkers are. The more expensive nets, these will be hand tied. Your cheaper nets will be crimped. Now, this line again is generally 100 to 150 pound test, and it's mono. Your panels, which I was talking about before, 6-panel net is much better than a 1-panel, and those are usually sewn together. And then mesh size, we're going to talk about in one of the next screens. The different size, mesh size depends on what type of bait you're going after. Unfortunately, one mesh size doesn't do it all, okay? So if you're going to be a multi-species fisherman and try to catch different types of bait, you're going to need different mesh size. Now, depending on the weight, most bunker nets, 10-foot bunker nets, are weighted at 1 pound per foot. So every foot of your outer line, your lid line, will be 1 pound of sinkers per foot. In Florida and where the water is much clearer, a lot of their nets are heavier, up to 2 pounds per square foot, because those nets are needing to sink a lot faster than the nets up in the Northeast that we're using to go after bunker. And we're going to talk a little bit about heavy versus light nets in the next slide. So this is really the anatomy of a net. And again, the better quality nets are going to be the ones that are handmade. They have a large neck. They have a long lead line, 40 feet or more. Barrel swivels quality. These braille lines aren't crimped. They're tied, hand tied. And an important thing too is that the outer line here is lead core. So a treated lead core. And that's one of the things I like about Guide Secret nets is this treated lead core line that is the perimeter of the net. And it does help you throw the net and the net open better. And it also prevents the net from the weights from kind of entangling each other. It's a little stiffer, and then it enables to create a pancake a lot easier. So let's talk about net mesh diameters. So the ones that Guide Secret makes are 3/16, 5/8, and 1 inch, 2 inch stretch. So most companies, you'll notice, are 1/4 inch. The problem with 1/4 inch nets for small bait is that a lot of your small spearing rainfish will get gill netted in there, and then you'll wind up having 100 of these little fish gilled inside the net, and you're not able to empty the net as quickly. And then they wind up getting dried in your net after you leave them on the dock. So we make a 3/16 diameter, which allows you to get the smaller rainfish as well as smaller spearing. The next size is 5/8. Again, we make it a little smaller so that your peanut bunker that come in all different sizes or small mullet don't get gilled in the 1/2 inch size. And then, And then you've got, in the 3/4 size. And then you have the 1 inch, 2 inch stretch, which is pretty much the premium, the standard for bunker and large mullet nets, as well as for ballyhoo and other types of bait in that size range. The 1-inch, 2-inch stretch works great. It has a great sink rate. And again, that's important because different bait move at different speeds, and you want to have different sink rates for your, the game that you're going after. So the 1-inch, 2-inch stretch is the best for your large menhaden. When you're throwing a cast net, it's kind of what it looks like underwater. And then, people always say, well, how does it trap everything? So what happens is, it makes this umbrella shape as it hits the bottom. And of course, it's exaggerating a little bit because depending on the depth of the water, your net is going to close a little bit more. When you pull the line up, these braille lines will then start cupping all these weights together. And then when you lift it up, it forms this bag. So what happens is then when you get it to the boat, you're able to lift it up and into your boat, and also release the all the bait that you catch. Let me just double check that I have any questions here. Mine's 136 in here, Florida, very clear water. Yeah, 136 is good. And in the next one, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But most of the bunker nets that are up here in the Northeast, the 1 pound per square foot is the norm. And we made a heavier one, which is 2 pounds per square foot. The only thing is, the difference is that that with the heavier weight, 1, it takes a toll on you. 2, it also sinks slower, and or the net closes quicker. So we're gonna talk about that. Not sink slower. The net closes. So heavier light net. So people will come up to me at trade shows and say, Captain Anthony, what should I get, a heavy net or a light net? And then I'm gonna say, well, that depends on how deep of water you're throwing it in. So if we're throwing it in on the ocean side and it's 30 feet deep, okay, we want a lighter net. And then, people are pretty surprised about that. And I'm going to say one of the reasons is that you want the net to stay opened as long as you can. And what will happen is with the heavier sinkers on the lead line, the lead line there, what happens is the faster it sinks, the quicker it closes. So by the time it gets down 20 feet, your mushroom of netting is already coming to a close because the water exhausts at a rate through the mesh. Now, the tighter the mesh, of course, it's going to go down slower. So then the net will stay open longer. But with the lighter weights, the net will stay open longer as it goes deeper and deeper. So in the clear water, when you're throwing on, pilchards or you're throwing on ballyhoo and stuff, usually you want that net to sink quick because those fish, clear water, are going to be able to see that shadow of that net come over them. So they're going to scatter. In the Northeast, where the water's a lot cloudier and the bunker and the menhaden bunker go down deeper, you want that net to stay open more so that you have as much surface opening as deep as possible. And here's a quick video will show what that looks like. And as you can see, as this net is getting deeper and deeper, you're noticing it's starting to close the opening. So that 10-foot net that was opened as a pancake 20 feet is now getting smaller and smaller and smaller as it's getting deeper. So if we're throwing in deeper water, I would throw the lighter weight. In the South in Florida, you definitely go with the heavier nets. Those nets that are made for down there are definitely heavier, but because one of the reasons is because of the clear water and then the shadowing of the nets as it lands in the water. So I'm going to show you a quick video that was made at a boat show with Captain Frank and Joey Leggio from Chasing Tail TV. We created kind of this, how-to on how to throw a cast net, break it down into simplest forms. It's going to be about 8-minute video. So we did this at one of the fishing expos, and it's just a great way of throwing a net. Let me just make sure the sound is working. But I don't hear it on there, so give me a second. All right.
Right now we're here with Frank Crescitelli from the show Fin Chasers. Got Frank's awesome bow right there. Was that a 28 Buddy Davis?
28-foot Buddy Davis. Just got it 2 days ago. Excited to use it.
Bow looks awesome. Love the wrap on it. It's incredible.
Thank you.
But with this bow, main thing is fresh bait, right?
Oh, yeah. We always got to have the bait. And the thing we do here at the show, part of the thing we do here at the show is we teach people how to throw the cast net. And why it's kind of relevant to me is I had to learn as an adult how to throw the net. Because the first 6 years we guided, we only fly fished.
Right.
So we never gathered the bait, and if we wanted some, we'd snag it. But if you need to have a lot of bait, you would never want to snag the whole time, right? So I was taught a bunch of times over and over again, and I was not getting it right. So as an auto mechanic by trade, I wanted to break it down in my mind to be understand mechanically what's happening to the net, and then be able to track my results based on was open enough or too much, was I not throwing it far enough? And these other random methods that people teach you is a series of steps that you may not have any relation to, and then you just try and repeat them, but unless you understand what's happening, you can't repeat it. So this is very easy, it's repeatable, you can check yourself along the way. So with this system, after each step, your dominant hand is always free. So we wrap the line, you put it in your left hand, I'm righty, dominant hand's free. Then I want to split the net in half. So I reach up, we call it Statue of Liberty, and we do that because there's only one way Statue of Liberty holds the torch, that way. Not like that, not like that, only like that, horn up. But you start telling people things like that and they're going to forget. They're never going to forget Statue of Liberty. And then I tell them to hug the net. And the reason I say hug the net is because everybody wants to pick the net up this way. You'd never walk up and go, Joey! So to hug, you hug the net this way. And then you just make it in half. So I reach down, and then you just want to wrap the net. Right? So we got it up, and we're going to make a clockwise wrap. And we just put it in our hand, and we're making a clockwise wrap. So, but if I tell people if the net is up, and you simply put your thumbs together, right? I got the net here. I put my thumbs together. It makes a clockwise wrap. And then that's it. You lift up the net, let the energy come out. You want to be about waist high. And here's a little checkpoint. If I simply can't slide the net like this, something's wrong. You say, of course it's that way. But if you had it this way, you wouldn't be able to do it.
Slide, right.
And all we're going to do is make a fronted part of the net, a back part. Throw the front part out, hold back to back. That's it. So I got it wrapped. I'm ready to lift it up. I start out with an end. Here's an end. I know this is an end because I got one line going this way, one line going that way. There's your front. Here's your back. Take half of the net. Stack it on your right-hand side. That's it.
I definitely don't want to lose the boat today.
I actually threw it overboard in the net once and got it back. So I'm going to just put this here, reach down, lock my pinky in. I'm going to lock my pinky in. This is the key. And then I reach under, grab the net. That's it. I would normally hold this in my teeth, but I can stick it on my thumb and do the same thing. That's not holding it back. My pinky's holding it back. So when I go to throw it, I throw the front part away, hold the back, and that's it. Every time, no big dramatic thing, and that's it.
What size net is this?
10 foot, opens to 20. Right. So you're better off to have a big net open up only half the way even, rather than a little net opening all the way. And here's why. If this was a smaller net, everybody wants to throw a 5 or 6 foot net, right? Everybody goes, oh, I only want a 5-footer. So that's about a 5-foot net, opens to 10, right? So here's the problem. This is where the horn is. So as every net closes as it sinks. So as this starts to sink, it starts to close, and look what happens. So now look, I'm going to prove. So I'm 5'10". That's about a 5-foot net right there. So you see how much net? It's not a lot of net in the water. But so you're better off to have a big net only open up part of the way, because, yeah, I'll show you. So I know where the back is and I know where the front is. So I'm going to make the net only open up a little bit.
Still bigger.
Right, because look, you have, as the net sinks, this all fills up with water, and the net, the bait is all comfy, cozy, no net is hitting them. So you're better off to have a big net open up only half the way, than a small net open it up like a pancake every time.
Plus, you're going to sink a little faster that way too.
Oh yeah, right, because
less resistance.
Exactly. That net is not going to close at all, especially when we make.
All right, so let me just double check, see if we got any questions about that. So what Frank was doing simply was paying up all the line, which everybody does. And then the next thing he was doing was creating that Statue of Liberty, okay? He was doing a front of the net, and he was doing a back of the net, okay? And let me just get back to that. Okay, let's see. Let me get to a picture. So I could show it here. So you had a front of the net and a back of the net. And then what Frank did was he held it up and then folded the net in half and simply just made one large loop. Now I'm a pretty short guy, so I would increase the loop a little bit more and have that loop about hip size, so that when I'm pulling out the one side of the net, I have a front of the net and a back of the net. And then simply I put my pinky under it, and then I'll take my hand and I go under, grasp the one half side, and then I would stick the other side in the thumb. Some people like to put it in their mouths. You know, when I do demos, I don't want 50 different people putting the line in their mouth. So you could easily just put the piece on your thumb, and then just turn sideways to the bait, turn and let it open. And you're almost kind of giving your arms open, like you're throwing the net out, and then your pinky holds that back end. And sometimes I'll throw the whole net out and just hold that piece with my pinky and then drop it in the water. And I know if you go online on YouTube and you type in how to throw a cast net, there's got to be 100 different ways. I know in Florida they fold third, and third. And, Jose Wahebe came up with this technique. I think it's just, I kind of am the ShamWow guy at these boat shows, and I want to get as many people to throw a net. So the way we do it, it might not pancake every time, but you're going to get 80% at least all the time. And to me, when you're out on the boat, that's enough, because you're going to get enough bait on one of those throws with the amount that opens. I mean, it's a big area. Now, a couple of things I talk about at the shows too is how to care for your net. Net is made out of mono. And if you took mono and left it out on your dock all year long, that mono is going to start to disintegrate. And the sun affects it greatly. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that your net is, after you use it, you clean out all the debris, all the dead fish, whatever you have in it, and you want to soak it in mild soapy water. And then what I do is I'll rinse it off, and then I'll go wash the boat. I'll let the net dry on the dock. And then what I'll do is I'll throw it back in the bucket. Usually in the bottom of the bucket, there's some holes. If not, I'll put it in like a laundry basket and keep it in the forward compartment of the hull, or I'll put it somewhere out of the sun. Make sure you rinse it thoroughly. And if you're going to store it all season, make sure it's really dry all winter long. But before using your net, a great tip is what I'll do is I'll take the full net, put it in a full bucket of water, and I'll put a cup of fabric softener in the bucket of water, and you let it soak overnight. Then the next day you empty the bucket out, rinse it a little bit, and you'll see the netting will be so soft, and it'll open up very, really nice. I'll do this maybe twice a season because I use the net a lot. And when the lines start to stiffen up a little bit, especially in the colder weather, this fabric softener trick is awesome. And, definitely give it a try. Another thing that I didn't mention is a technique that we do here in the Northeast, and it's called rodeoing. When you're approaching schools of bait fish, depending on your dominant throw, if you're righty or lefty, you want to, when you're approaching bait, a couple of tricks. One, don't change the speed of your engine. Keep it consistent. So when you're running up, don't like run and gun, get to the bait, put it in neutral, then throw the net. What that's going to do is definitely spook the bait. What I do is I like to approach the bait with a constant speed. I'd like to, since I'm righty, I like to throw to the right, or you never want to throw into the wind. So what I'll do is I'll keep the bait whichever way we're going to run the boat, that the wind is on my back. And then what we're going to do is, as soon as we get up to the bait is marked, I throw the net, and then the captain will then turn the wheel as tight as they can, and we do the thing called rodeoing. So we go about 2 or 3 times in a circle and let the net sink. I'll pay out the line, and so that it's not, as soon as you put resistance on that, the net will close even faster. So I'll keep paying out the net, and depending on, you could feel it when the bait's in the net, and depending on how much bait you want to get, then you'll stop the boat, and of course, you want to be downwind so you don't go over the net, and then you pick up your line and bring the bait to the side of the boat. One of the things you definitely don't want to do is, even if you got a lot of bait in that net, is don't grab the net when you're trying to lift it up in the boat. It'll create a disaster. Even if you got to get help, or you stand on the gunnel, lift it up by the braille lines, and then what we do is we'll have either a basket in the boat, or we'll drop the bait in the transom, and then transfer that bait into the live wells. And the less you touch the bait, and the less they're sitting out of water, the better you are, and the fresher bait you're going to have. Also, with any type of bait, okay, just because now you're throwing the cast net and you think you could get an unlimited supply, don't take more than what you need. In most typical trips up here in the Northeast, I would take 2 to 3 dozen live baits. If I'm chunking, maybe some more, and then I throw the rest back. Nothing's worse than at the end of the trip is having dead bunker in your live well, and then at the marina, you're throwing a couple of dozen back in the water. If I have a few left over at the end of the day, I'll freeze it for crab bait, or, I'll give it to some friends, but I never waste it. The bait isn't an unlimited resource, even though it seems like there's a lot. And because of the return of the menhaden, they stopped a lot of that inshore netting. Our fisheries have, really improved because of it. I mean, we're seeing whales along the beach of New Jersey, and striped bass, bigger bass, more quantities of bass, and it's all because of this one fish called the bunker. And I know bunker go down as into Florida, so it's really an important resource. So when it all comes together, this is kind of a quick clip of what it looks like when we're on the boat. There's Captain Frank throwing the net, split in half, boom. You see how he held that back a little bit? This is in the ocean, so we're trying to throw it a little further. The bait spooks a lot quicker, but in slow motion, you kind of see that left pinky is the last thing that is released, which brings the back of the net further back. And then, he's waiting for the net to sink. For some reason, we didn't really rodeo because the bait was really on the surface here, and we just retrieved it quickly. But you'll see Jason, one of our mates, he's pulling it to the side. It's not just a one-man operation, especially if you have an enclosure up. He'll hand the net back to Jason in the back of the boat. And then, as you could see, in one throw, we've got more than enough bait for the day for live lining. And, he's pulling it into the boat. Frank, or one of the guys, will get up on that gunnel there, and he's tall, so he'll be able to lift the net up and then release all the bait in the boat. So if you guys log on to navionics.com or go on to Navionics, join our mailing list. There's many different webinars coming up. I know there's a lot of freshwater, but also saltwater ones. My next one's going to be on striped bass fishing using mojos, which is getting more popular in the Northeast. And I'm also doing one on tying knots for offshore or small boats offshore. So if you go on the mailing list, or if you have any questions, you could email me at agrossi@navionics.com. Also, you could email me at finchasernj@gmail.com. Also, the guide secret is taking off $25 off a 10-foot bunker net, which is 1-inch, 2-inch stretch. If you're interested, email me. The nets are usually $250. They're made here in the U.S. They're all handmade. It's a quality net. If you have any other questions of size nets, you could, again, email me. I'm going to answer some questions. Let's see. Let's see if we got any questions. No, nothing yet. I'll wait another minute or so if you guys, all right. Just this one, yes. I guess that was before for a sound check. Anything else comes to mind? All right, there's my first one. All right, thanks from Jack. Hey, I appreciate Jack. You're helping me get this thing set up. It's the first time I'm doing it on a Mac. Usually with the PC, everything was on the same page. Also, guys, if you see me at any trade shows in the Northeast, please come up to me. I'd be more than happy to give you hands-on instructions if I have the net there, or if you're in the Jersey Shore area and you have any questions. I'd love to help you out and get you to throw these nets. I know, again, just follow those simple tests, the steps, and you'll be able to throw the net. Also, make sure this webinar is going to be downloaded and saved on Navionics. So again, if you weren't sure the steps that Captain Frank was doing, you could always go back and use it as reference. I'll upload this on my YouTube channel. Captain Joe in Jupiter, Florida. Yeah, Joe, I was just in what do you call it? Isla Mirada this weekend. and did a little fishing in the mangroves. But I appreciate it, you know, your response, and hopefully I'll get down there and look you up. Also, what size net would you use for inland lake shad? James, what is the length of the shad? What would you say they are, inch wise? How many inches would you say those shads are? Okay, 2 inches. I would definitely use the 3/16 net, especially the smaller sheds. You could probably use the 5/8 would work too. If the water's deeper, I would definitely use the largest net mesh that you can find, that the fish don't get killed in. But I think your 3/16 for most of your lake stuff would suffice. Now, again, as Frank talked about, even, you know, the 10-foot net is your best net to throw, because even if you threw it halfway open, it's still going to be more than any other. You'll have still more surface, available for catching bait than if you pancaked a 4 or 5 foot net. But in the lakes, you also got to make sure there's different rules for different states. In New Jersey, the largest net you could use without a commercial license is 10 foot. In New York, I believe it is 12 with, you can get a permit. Not sure about Florida, because I see some of my buddies down there throw big nets, 14s and 16s. But you don't need that big of a net up here. It's for the bunker. They're schooled so tight. Spearing, same thing. You know, you'll wind up catching more creatures than you really need, other than the bunker. Any other questions? Again, you can always email me at agrassi@navionics.com or finchaser.nj, like New Jersey, @gmail.com. You could, I have a Facebook page, Captain Anthony is one word, Grassi. Make sure you friend me on Facebook. I always have a lot of tips on there, and I love to share any knowledge that I have, and I love to learn from other people from different places as well. So I hope, again, you enjoyed this presentation, and you have a great night, and thanks for taking out some time on Tuesday night to join me. Have a great night, guys.